Hello and welcome to this Friday's Travelin' Young, and I've got a new tradition that is having
I can smell it from over here. It
having
smells
some
good.
kind of drink when we're here on the couch. This is this Jameson cold brew stuff that Maya and I
really
got
good.
when we were in Ireland. I haven't had a sip yet because I don't want it. I made the mistake once of having it all gone before we finished. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And a couple quick things. One is we know that there's a ton of things going around the world at the moment, and we're very aware of that stuff, but we just want to be a distraction from that, which is one reason why we don't talk about it. So hopefully we give you something else to think about for a few minutes while you watch us.
I think about it 24 hours a day, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah. So anyway, what we're going to talk about today, though, is we want to do an update to our Adjusting as Parents video.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been like a year.
Yeah.
Almost exactly a year. So we've maybe matured or changed in that year.
Integrated more? Who knows?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And it's... I would venture to say everybody that's seen us has probably seen that video. It is our most viewed video of all. So we thought it'd be good to give an update because we're a year down the line.
Yeah, and things have changed on many levels, so...
Yeah, so we're going to touch on points and add some points.
Yeah.
And respond to things that people said in the comments.
Yeah.
So one of the things, the very first thing we talked about was the drinking culture. We're not going to get into that now because we did a whole video later about Maya and the drinking culture. But I guess we can just say that we've adjusted. We feel more comfortable during her birthday party.
Yeah, and so we did have like a big birthday party, and we've just kind of adjusted to the way that teens, you know, older teens party. So it's just kind of an adjustment to us and getting used to having those much more casual conversations about drinking. Like, you know, make sure you drink water, make sure you eat something, make sure, you know, so it's not so taboo. It's more like reminding you of how to drink responsibly.
I'm a little disappointed, though, because she's like, oh, buy a bunch of beer. And nobody drank it.
Nobody
we have a
drank
ton
the
of beer. So if you like classic and
apparently beer's not
green
for the
Tuborg.
girls, and she had a lot of girls at her party.
Yeah, so drinking culture was one of the things we talked about in that video. Then we talked about bad words, specifically English bad words.
Yes. Which we didn't realize that it's not as big of a thing to curse in a foreign language for you.
Yeah, that was a good comment that you, I
never thought about that.
Yeah, that Danes may not say bad words in Danish.
Yeah.
Because it's weird, but to say the bad words
really
in English, but to say it in English, an English bad word, it doesn't carry the same meaning as if we were in America saying English bad words.
Still lots of pearl clutching for a lot of Americans.
It's still, there's, and we've had, and some people acknowledge too in the comments that there is a lot of bad words floating around out there. But I think, as we said in the first video, we are not immune to saying bad words, just not here in this in this relationship.
Yes.
The next thing we talked about was independence and how much independence it seems like kids have here compared to the U.S. And I think an important, I wanted to mention, because we were just debating this moments ago before we turned the camera on.
We have different points of view because
And you're a mom, and that maybe has a different view.
I'm a mom, and I'm in mom groups, and there's a lot of mom shaming going on in the Facebook group.
But one of the comments that you'd made in the last video was about how some moms are afraid to let their kids go outside because somebody might call the police to say that they're endangering their children. And I was just making the comment that, not as a mom, and I'm not in mom groups. That'd be weird. That I think it's different depending on where you live. It's a huge country. Yeah. Like in Tennessee where we lived, it's
nobody cares.
More rural. Kids go out and do all kinds of stuff. And even in the suburbs, I think in some, like where I grew up in Virginia, my sister's kids are out because they're in a safe environment. It's in a suburb and stuff. But I think it's a little different if you're in a city.
Definitely in Chicago, I absolutely did not feel like I could ever leave Maya unattended. I mean, there was even like a law that you cannot allow your child to be unattended for any unreasonable amount of time until they're 14. So
yeah. But part of the reason for this that I think is an important note is not about parents not trusting their kids.
Yeah.
It's more not trusting
other people,
the unknown people that may show up and do something that's not good.
Yeah.
So we never. It wasn't a matter of not trusting Maya. It was just like the things that could happen that you.
It's all the what ifs.
Yeah, that's the stuff that would concern you. Yeah. So I wanted to point that out because based on the comments, I think there was some confusion, or people would like automatically gravitate to the idea that the entire country of America is horribly unsafe.
And you are correct about that. It is very different depending on where you are. So
yeah. So the next thing we talked about was after school, which now Maya has been through after school, and as I said then, I was so jealous of this, and
still am.
I gotta say, we just recently did this video about Maya in gymnasium and how I guess we didn't directly say her, but the things we were saying were really applicable to her. She's challenged sometimes with being independent as an individual and connecting to a larger group. But after school was just an environment where she was able to blossom and get exposure to so many people. And I'm so glad she did it because I feel like she connected to the country more.
Yeah, she did.
Besides meeting Vilas, who she's still her boyfriend, that helped her also feel more connected. But I think it was a great experience. I'm so glad, and now she is so glad she did it.
Yeah. It was a bit of, honestly, it was a bit of a fight because she really wasn't too sure about it. I don't think she initially really liked the idea of living away, and that was super scary. But once she did it, I think she's really glad she did it. So
yeah,
hopefully.
And now she's in gymnasium, which is like, she's starting this path to university and everything, and it's like a whole new phase of her education.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the U.S., you're still largely under your parents, so a lot of parents still, you have teacher meetings and all those kinds of things. And I know you have teacher meetings here, but she has a lot more, I guess, agency over her own education. Like, she can advocate a lot more for herself, for her own education, and go to the school and say what she wants. So I think that's pretty cool.
But one of the problems with that is I feel like I'm less connected to what she's doing. Because she comes to me and she's like, I'm going to change my class. What do you think? And I'm like, I don't know if that's what you need to do. I don't know what's going on. Because I trust her enough that I don't even need to be intimately aware of everything that's happening. But because of that, I'm also not as intimately aware and as connected, and it's more work to do that because you're not just inherently as engaged as a parent.
They aren't sending her their grades to you.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to sign her grades to say I saw her grades and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a great transition to watch her go through.
Yeah.
The last thing we talked about on that first video was dating. There was a ton of conversation specifically around that because of the whole sleepover thing.
Yes.
And I just have to, so she's 18 now.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, she's an adult, so she makes the decisions that she wants to make. And I want to point out that some people in the comments like tried to, I guess, imply it was because we're American and everybody in America is super religious, and they have I'm not a religious person at all.
No.
I've told you, I don't think I've ever said that.
I don't think we've talked about it.
We don't talk about stuff like that, but
I mean, I don't think we've set foot in a church in like
that's not true because
years.
We've gone into churches in Italy
not for a service, but I mean, like,
I love looking at gorgeous churches in Europe, but not to go and
I don't think we've been
hear a
since
sermon.
We married. So
no, I mean,
that's like 22 years.
So that's not my motivation at all. But it's just this thing where it's really hard to describe because it may not seem rational to somebody in a culture that isn't that way. But guess what? There's also things that I don't think are rational in the Danish culture. And it's all because that's why it's a culture and there's different things. And that's just something that just feels it's not what I'm used to. But it's also not my decision now. She's 18 and she does what she wants to do. And I trust that she's going to be responsible. But
I also think it was kind of a 2 against 1.
Well, no, I mean, I just said when she turned 18, I said, I'll tell you, I'm not a fan.
But
my mind's not going to. I'm not going to change that.
But I think that that's really awesome because I think there's a lot of people who, because she's, who she's still living at home, who would still say, my house, my rules, and so I think that's a lot of growth for you. So
and it helps that I like Vilas.
Yeah, it does.
If I didn't like Vilas,
it'd probably be harder.
Be a different story, probably. But I would use that as an argument.
Kid. 2 thumbs up for me.
Yeah, so. But I mean, it all comes down to the fact that it does also take time. I don't know if people I didn't probably appreciate that until I was in a situation where I had to adjust to a new culture. So viewers who have not done that may not appreciate this, but it takes time to adjust. You're not going to overnight flip 100%, 180 degree. But I was trying to say percent though, 100% change everything to adapt to a culture. It takes time, and I think we've adapted to so many things. That's just something that takes a little bit of time to do.
And that was a big one. That's a huge difference.
It's hard to just flip a switch over everything. But so there's some new stuff now. One of the big new things is Maya's working.
Yeah.
And that's created new interesting challenges because I like to travel when we can travel, and I'm used to Maya always being basically available to go on trips and stuff. And now it's like we're not battling, but we
have to schedule.
Scheduling and navigating schedules and stuff. And so we take a trip, like an example, the two of us take that trip every year that you may have seen. We went to Ireland last year, the year before we went all around Denmark. And we were trying to figure out when we can do it, and I wanted to do it over Easter, that big break, and then she has to work. And so we have to do it at a different time of the year. And those things are kind of new, but it's also, it's hard because we want to still do things as a family. So, but we also want her to learn financial independence because it's really hard to learn how to manage money and how to be independent with money if it's not money you're making. It's so different when you're going to work and earning it yourself and how you treat it. Yeah. So I always had jobs. Yeah. And I never went places with my parents. I mean, I remember they'd go on trips to see grandparents and I wouldn't go because I got to stay home and work. So that's been an adjustment.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't work until I was out of in college because I didn't help take care of my brother. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been really good for her, and I think she's really learning the value of budgeting and things, and so she has goals.
Yeah. But it's a bummer because it affects our ability to travel as a family. The summer is going to be a bit of a mess, and this daddy-daughter trip.
Eventually she's not going to be in the house at all.
No, she's always going to. Yeah. We're always going to. She told me years ago, maybe she was 8 when she said it, so maybe she feels differently now. Yeah. She said, Dad, we're always going to take daddy-daughter trips every year, you and I.
That's sweet.
You can't. I hope we can, but when she eventually has her own kid, she's going to have to do mommy, whatever the gender happens to be, trips. And that leads to another point, which we haven't talked about much, but this is just general about parenting, which is we made a decision a really long time ago, obviously 18 years ago, that we would just have one child. And
that was my choice.
I mean, I have to say, I admire and commend people that can have 2 and 3 kids.
I can't even.
I can't imagine all these problems.
Yeah.
Like not problems, but challenges.
Multiplied by 3.
Yeah. Like how do you manage kids that are like of different ages and going through different things in their lives and the competitions that would go in?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of 3, and we're pretty spread out age-wise. I mean, it's got to be tough. So. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little. I figure our idea was if we can get one.
I want to get one right.
Be a decent parent and have a decent one, then I feel like we've done our job.
We did our job.
We've increased the population by. I guess we haven't though because we're 2 with only 1. We're decreasing. I don't know.
Yeah, we are.
We're not helping population. I guess we're helping population.
We didn't replace ourselves, but.
No. But it's...
She came out and she had 10 fingers and 10 toes, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm great. We did it. She's a great kid. Well, she's a great young lady now, and, she's been super easy. I just can't imagine having more, or having one that isn't so easy. I mean, she's honestly made it really easy.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be like rolling the dice.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That was exactly my thought.
Yeah. I'm like, we can just get this.
With one.
Just one.
Just one is great.
It's panned out pretty well so far, I think. She's a great kid. Or, well, I guess she's a great young woman. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is one thing I got to say, too, because people talk about kids.
Yeah.
And how I have referred to her as a kid. I'm sorry. I'm going to call her my kid when she's 30 or 35. Or she's always going to be my kid.
Yeah.
Even if she's not a kid. In the eyes of the law or whatever, or society.
She's a young lady.
She's my kid. She's always going to be my kid. The last thing we want to mention is that, I mean, all this has led to this situation now where we're basically more advisors to Maya, kind of helping her when she has questions and guiding her through. She's got security because she's still here with us.
Yeah.
If something, she needs help, we can do it. And the fact that she's got a job, she's now starting to grow a little bit of financial independence, at least with spending money and how she wants to spend the money she's making.
I think she's been really good about that. And so she comes to me and says, oh, I'm budgeting, I'm saving for this. And I'm like, that's really great. And she did it all, on her own. But there's still times when, she went to a party recently and it got done really late, and I didn't want her to take the train home by herself at 2:00 in the morning. So I went and picked her up. So we still occasionally do things like that, just out of safety, but she's largely just kind of
I'm going to say this one thing about her. This is, now you made me think about this. Why do I do these things to myself?
You're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No. So maybe with her.
Oh, no.
When she comes to us and says, yeah, but can you take me somewhere and pick me up? And she's like, well, it's going to take 30 minutes for me to take a bus there. And I'm like, well, it's going to take me an hour to drive you there and back. Why is my hour less important than your 30 minutes? I just had to say that.
Yeah.
And by the way, we mentioned this on the parenting, or on the 18-year-old video about her getting a license. It's all up to her now.
Yep.
She's got the money actually in her bank account that she can use for it. Some of it came from my dad, actually, who'd been saving and gave her a gift when she turned 18. And she's made the decision to wait because she just wants to do this job and she's trying to focus on gymnasium. So it's all up to her, and she's making the decision for the moment that she's going to wait to get her license. So
and kudos to her. She wanted to make that decision. We did not influence that at all. So
it was all up to her. Yeah. All right. Well, let's leave it there. We've been talking for a while.
We could get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah. And if you didn't see the original video, or if you just want to remind yourself, since it's been a year and we were sitting, we've also settled on a couch since, a lot of changes. New camera, couch business. We were sitting over there at that time, and it was Easter-ish, because I talked about Easter drinking, and we ate some little Easter.
Oh, that's right. We ate the little chicken.
Yeah, the little chickens. Yeah. So if you link below if you want to watch that video and be reminded of all the goodness and whatever that we talked about then. But let's just wrap this up and say goodbye.
All right.
We'll see you. Adios.